Hi, so I'm gonna keep a diary of the progress of my plants that I'm growing, and I'm trying a couple of different methods. A bit of backstory to this. I tried to grow tomatoes last year indoors, and I grew the tomato plants and they worked pretty well, but they never bore any fruit. And I basically had all of my plants infested with fungus gnats as a result of it. But we managed to get rid of the fungus gnats, so that's all good. So what I thought I'd try this year is something on a bit of a smaller scale. I've bought dwarf tomato seeds, which are basically kind of micro tomato plants that don't take up so much space and don't grow up to too tall of a height. And I wanted to try it with hydroponics because I had a bit of PTSD from the fungus gnat situation, if I'm being honest, and just a lot of problems with mold and on the soil of the plants and disease and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to try and get rid of that. But as you can see, there is soil here. I actually started some other tomato seeds in the soil just to give out to people because I just want, and also as a kind of backup as well if the hydroponic tomatoes didn't work. I'm using Kratky method. I've never done this before, but I basically germinated the the tomato seeds on bits of cotton wool, and then I transferred that into a container with a hydroponic solution, growing solution, and then into these little net cups too with kind of leca hydrogen balls around it. So I've never done this before, so I don't know if I'm doing it the right way or not. So we'll see how that goes. But I've also got the same seeds in soil here. I've actually got a grapefruit seed that I've germinated that I've put in here, and then a piece of lemon geranium plant that I'm gonna give to my granny because she gave me initially the transplant that is made up the plant that we have now, but hers died, so I'm trying to start a new cutting for her. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. It'll be interesting to see one whether I can successfully, start the growth of the tomatoes in these pots. They're just like soup containers from Asda, but it'll be interesting to see whether I can, keep that going and whether they'll need bigger containers eventually, depending on how tall they're going to grow, and then see how they go in the soil too, and maybe try the hydroponic ones under more controlled conditions under the lights, the grow lights, and then maybe just put the soil ones on the windowsill here, although we're losing a bit of space. That's the original geranium plant there. So I'll keep you guys updated on how that's going, and we'll see the progress in a week or so. Right, so the plants are doing pretty well so far. All the tomatoes have sprouted, including the hydroponic ones. This was the seedling that was furthest along, and we can see that it's starting to grow its first true leaves, but most of them have little bits in the middle where we can see that they're starting to grow their first true leaves, which is good. Still no sign of a grapefruit, but that's fair enough because it'll take a bit longer for that to sprout. And lemon geranium, doing great. The little stem in the middle is going up, not a problem. I'm learning mistakes from my last time of trying to grow tomatoes, and I've been feeding them from the bottom, just with like a little kind of jam jar lid with water, just because I feel like the mold spores on top of the soil infected the leaves of the plants last time from it splashing up, so I don't want to do that. And I'm also trying to water them a lot less. The heating mat, I think I'm going to keep that on for a bit longer, and then until the grapefruit seed sprouts, and then I'll probably switch it off. So yeah, that's the progress so far, and they're all doing pretty well. Right, so another update. The plants are doing pretty well, I think. This tomato was the first one to grow up, and it's doing a really good job. And so are all the other tomatoes too. They're getting their true leaves through now, and seem to be doing okay. bit worried about this plant because it's got some kind of like mold white thing on the leaves and I'm not sure what that is. I've been watering from the bottom, so I've been trying to, you know, combat that like powdery mildew mold type stuff from the soil. And also disinfected the soil too before I, planted it. The lemon geranium's doing okay. It was having quite a lot of growth and then all of a sudden kind of stopped. But there is a little another shoot that's coming out of it at the back, so yeah, doing okay so far. So, an update on the plants. The tomatoes are all doing really well now. I moved them away from the grow light because I don't think it was light enough. There is a setting I could have put it on, but there's such a nice spot here for sunlight that I thought, just put them on the windowsill, and the growth has definitely accelerated since I've done that. And the lemon geranium, is doing really great, lots more shoots coming up. So anyway, these are all going to be, well, most of them are going to be going away soon. So this tomato is going to a new home to my aunt. This is going to go to my granny. And then one of the tomatoes, I think probably this one is going to go to my granny too. And I'm going to keep one of the soil tomatoes and then keep both the hydroponic ones too. And I did look at the hydroponic, I did have a look. I'll show you just now. Just be careful. You can see that we're getting roots that are starting to form now, which is great. I don't want to disturb them too much, sorry tomatoes. But yeah, I'll give you another update soon. Right, so tomatoes, there's less plants here now because I gave away 2 of the soil tomatoes and the lemon geranium cutting that I'd started. I gave that to its intended recipient. The hydroponic tomatoes are definitely growing faster than the soil tomato. I've not actually fed the soil tomato any nutrients or plant foods. I just don't want to, burn the roots or add too much in. I've tried that with previous plants in the past, and too young it seems to have a detrimental impact, but maybe I'll need to start feeding it soon. I'm going to keep it in this pot. I know repotting tomatoes is good because it stimulates root growth, sorry. Especially if if I snipped off the seed, it's still got its old, like kind of like first leaves there. If I snipped that off and that other leaf and then planted it right up, that like encourages stronger root development. But to be honest, I just want to leave it as it is because these are dwarf micro tomato plants, so they're not going to get that tall anyway, and I don't want to stress the plant out. And I feel that, with this pot, it's still got plenty of room to grow. With these guys, I don't know if I'm going to move them to a bigger pot. I think I probably have to because, well, it depends on how quickly they drink up the nutrient solution. I've also not changed this nutrient solution since I put the seeds in there. There's conflicting stuff online. People are like, oh, you should change it every week and wash it out. Other people are like, oh, every 6 weeks or just when it needs topped up. I thought the whole point of Kratky was that you let it go down and you can have like a one and done system, or you can just let it go down until it doesn't have enough liquid yet and then top it up. There was a build up of, I thought it was mold on top of the hydrogen, like the leca balls there. It wasn't. I realized it was like a build up of the nutrient salt that was evaporating from the water. I replaced the top layer anyway, just in case. But so maybe the nutrients are evaporating from the water. I thought this might be suffering from some kind of like phosphorus deficiency because it's got a purple bottom bit there and the leaves were turning a bit purple, but it's either because it got a bit colder after being warmer, I'd say, or because I think that variety is just purple anyway. It has purpley leaves and stems from what I've seen anyway of full grown plants. See, this one I think is the same and it's got a bit of a purple stem, whereas this one doesn't. I know you can't really see it, but it doesn't have one. So yeah, those tomatoes are doing well actually, growing really quite fast to be honest. Yeah, these are my other plants. The oxalis is doing well. You can see there's flowers. I know these are all like look like flowers, but their actual flowers are coming up. There's never many flowers. There's like a few per thing, so you can see there's like one there, and then there's a couple of flowery bits coming up there. And lemon geranium is doing fine. Probably needs to get moved. The problem is it's never consistent sun here, so see this, it needs to be right near the light source in weather like this. But when it's too sunny, it needs to be an indirect sun, and I can't just like keep moving it about, you know. So yeah, anyway, that's that. So another update on the tomatoes. I did actually change the nutrient solution out for the hydroponic tomatoes the first time that I've done that. And I think they're growing pretty well. I think I start to see flower buds at the top. I'm not sure whether that is flower buds or not. Kind of looks like it. See here too. Kind of looks like there's some flowers starting to form. It's a shame because I think the weather's supposed to be a bit nicer over the next few days, but then it's supposed to get quite cloudy again and a bit colder. I think they were really thriving when we had sunnier, warmer weather, but I think they're doing okay. They're doing a lot better than the one in the pot. I think it probably needs a bigger pot, maybe. I did feed it some plant solution, not the hydroponic stuff, but soil specific one, and nothing's happened with it. I think I might have shown the grapefruit seed at some point, and that never seemed to germinate, but I put an apple seed in here. Can't see anything germinating in there just now. I'm just leaving it. I don't think anything will germinate, but tree seeds take a while, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, the plants seem to be doing well. I'm going to probably repot this one, see if it grows any faster, but a lot of success so far with the hydroponics, so I'll let you know how that goes. So here we are, and the plants are doing well. We're getting a lot of flowers coming on them now, which is good. And even off this smaller one too. And it's growing up pretty good in the soil. I don't know, I think that the one in the soil is slower growing, but seems to be more even and bushy. Whereas the ones in the hydroponics seem to be, I don't know, less leafy. But they're all doing well. They weren't doing so good, but I changed the solution. I added foil around the containers to keep the solution cooler and protect more against light leaking in. And I added peroxide to the solution too, which serves two purposes of disinfecting and adding oxygen. And it seems to have worked pretty well, touch wood. So yeah, they're doing good. So another week has passed. The tomatoes are doing well. This one in the soil's growing up. It's got lots of flowers. This one has lots of flowers. Even has some fruit starting to form from the flowers. And this one here has a little tomato fruit that's starting to form too. So I'm pretty impressed with the progress. I'm quite happy with the way things are going. I was going to put them into larger containers, but they just seem happy here, and I don't want to stress them out too much by moving them to a larger container. Oxalis is doing very nicely. Lemon geranium, I think I'm going to take cutting off of this like I did for the plant previously and start a new one. I think it's fine, but it's not as healthy looking as I'd like. And I recently got from my aunt a cutting of a Christmas cactus or Easter cactus, or whatever you call it. Also this little bay tree here, it's doing really nicely as well. Lots of buds, new leaves, good growth too. So yeah, everything's doing well here so far. Right, so it's been a while since I recorded a video. Life just has a habit of getting in the way. It's been very busy with work and personal life, been getting married. But I've still been looking after my tomato plants. If we go around the back here, we can see the hydroponic tomatoes, and I didn't know which varieties were which, but until the fruits came. But this one was the red tomato. I think it was called tomato vilma, maybe. I'm not sure. Can't remember. And then this one was orange hat, same as this plant in the pot, which is doing very good. The pot is probably too small for it. I should have repotted it, but by the time it started fruiting, I didn't really want to stress the plant out too much, so I wasn't going to repot it. The side effect of that is that, I need to water it quite frequently too, because it's using a lot of water and nutrients, and feed it quite regularly as well. But it's doing great. I would say, from my experience, this other one with the red tomato plant, red tomato fruits on it are doing okay. There's a few more fruits coming up as well, but after those kind of fruit, I think they'll be pretty much done and used up. My experience with it was basically that the hydroponic tomatoes had rapid growth to start with, but then almost seemed kind of stunted, whereas the one in the pot was a lot slower to develop, but as you see, it's kept growing. And I'm not sure how large these micro kind of dwarf tomato plants are supposed to get, but maybe it kind of seems like it's not going to get any bigger than this at the moment. So in terms of the hydroponic, I was doing like a Kratky setup, and I wasn't really oxygenating the water with I know there's a certain thing you could put in like a stone to oxygenate the water. I was adding peroxide to the feeding solution. Just find out what was the recommended dilution. So that would have been adding oxygen in. But I kind of was doing that later into the feeding when I noticed that they weren't necessarily, they kind of reached the peak of their growth. Also, maybe they could have done with being in a larger container, but I don't know how much of a difference that would have made, because I was topping up the solution fairly regularly. The roots looked okay. There's some brownness on some of the roots, so maybe they were damaged, maybe they were diseased. Who knows? It was an active sign of disease. There was like little, I think they're called thrips, the jumpy things inside the water, which isn't great, but they're not like that bad. Apparently they're beneficial, but just not in lots of numbers, which seems to be like all these kind of pests. But yeah, I would say that definitely grow these again. It's hard to, I'd do it in soil probably, and I'd probably just have two plants and grow them in soil, and probably put them to larger pots eventually too. And I reckon you would get more bountiful crop. Although with this plant, see there's like what, 3 ripe? I'm going on holiday soon, so I'm actually gonna put what's it called, blue mat into the pot here to keep it watered, because it will get thirsty even though I'm only away for just under a week. And then, the hydroponic ones, I'm gonna bin this one on the left. I think it's time, even though it looks like there's lots of fruit that's potentially developing, like those flowers have been like that for ages and none of the fruit is developing. So I think that it's just kind of done now, which is a shame because I don't want to throw away plants, but that's the way it is. I don't want to make up a whole another solution of hydroponic stuff just to then not have to get to use it all. I definitely would do the Kratky method again for one and done type plants. I think that's really where its strength lies. I think if you wanted to do another type of hydroponic setup, you would really need to oxygenate the water and take more care over the pH, the nutrient levels. They've done pretty well though, those tomatoes, considering, but I would probably not grow those tomatoes in there again. I think the micro dwarfs in soil, just having that plant on the windowsill, and yeah, you're not going to get lots of tomato fruit from it, but just the having it's a nice plant, it looks luscious, it smells nice, and you get the bonus of being able to see these fruits growing and get to taste some of them. And you're not going to be making a massive salad and have heaps and heaps of tomatoes, but you get that satisfaction from being able to eat something that you've grown from a seed. And I think that's quite fun. I've had a good experience with it. It went much better than my tomato growing last year, which just ended up in an infestation of fungus gnats. Basically just tried to grow proper sized tomato plants indoors in a greenhouse in grow bags under grow lights. And they grew, they just never fruited. And I think there was a lot of issues with that, and I've tried to learn from those problems. So yes, overall good. My other plants, oxalis doing good, still flowering, which is nice. Geranium, doing good. Kind of like got that big gap in the middle between the plant where a lot of it died off and I had to cut it back. I kind of want to repot that, take a cutting from it and repot it. I also have like this Christmas cactus here that desperately needs to get potted. I'm not got around to it yet. And the bay tree looks great, if you can see that. There's so much new growth on that. But yeah, so overall, I'd say that the dwarf tomatoes work well. You can see the difference there between even just in a small pot and the hydroponics than the Kratky method. So while the hydroponic was initially good, the soil just can't beat soil. It just seems like plants want to live in soil. So that's my takeaway from this. Right, so final video of the tomatoes. Well, tomato, just the one plant left. Although the one that I gave to my granny's doing pretty well. I could show a picture of that. This one's doing amazing. Look how many tomatoes are on it. So many tomatoes. I was going to change the pot, but I decided not to. Didn't want to stress out the plant. The hydroponic tomatoes got binned because they didn't do too well. So, yeah. So I was editing all that together and I thought I'd just give a summary. This doesn't look like all the other videos because I've moved now from the northeast of Scotland to Glasgow in the central belt. You can see some familiar characters here. We've got lemon geranium doing really well. This flat's a lot warmer and this is a north facing window, but it is a south facing living room. So the plants are going to like that. We've not quite got it set up. Didn't see the anthuriums, they were present at that time. We actually split it out into 3 different plants, as you can see, because it was just getting way too overcrowded in that pot. Acquired an African violet bay tree. Had the orchid too. Might be some new flowers coming on that. Anyway, oh, and the oxalis. That's it hibernating the tubers. The tubers just last forever. Maybe not forever, but a while. And we'll just replant them, and the oxalis did great this year too. So in conclusion, I'd say the dwarf tomatoes are great. Doing it in a Kratky hydroponic setup, not so great. I think that people online that said Kratky doesn't really work for anything long term are probably right. You need to try and oxygenate the water. You need to be cleaning it regularly. You need to be testing the pH. You need to be using distilled water, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it was just me not doing it properly. Probably was. But the whole idea of it is just a one and done, leave it, top it up. That's what most people online seem to say that are proponents of this method of growing. And I think it is definitely great. I think I would have just had to be more precise with it. Whereas with soil, plants just like growing in soil. As long as you water them enough but not too much, they get enough light but not too much light. Although in the case of tomatoes, it seems like too much light isn't possible because they love light. And also feeding them but not too regularly. So this coming year, I'm definitely going to do the tomatoes again. It's going to be fun. Also, I'll put a clip of the lemon geranium plant that I gave to my granny. It's actually I think half of it's broken now, but it just seems to grow back so well in her place. So yeah, I might do another round of videos when I start growing the dwarf tomatoes again. I'd probably start them earlier because I think I started them in April this year. It's December now, so I think I'll maybe start them in March. I'd say a month earlier, because actually the tomato plant, I had to get rid of it before I left, but it would have just kept growing. I think it would have died eventually because it was a determinate plant, or it just wouldn't have produced any more fruit. So that was quite sad, but we'll grow some more next year and I'll keep you posted on how that goes.